G'day guys and welcome back to Footy Talk, your dose of all the latest interviews, news and analysis in the world of AFL. And on a Monday, we always have a massive edition coming your way. And joining me from over in the West is Ryan Daniels, the king of 7 News, of course, over there. Rhino, great to have you in.
Oh, Abby, excited to be here. Nothing better than Abbey Holmes on a Monday morning. Just brightens up my whole week. It is a real joy to be here. And what a weird weekend of footy.
Yes.
I mean, we came into it thinking, geez, only 6 games, no Thursday night. This feels a bit anticlimactic. We had the Dusty stuff. But, man, there were a couple of games over the weekend that taught us a lot about a couple of teams.
Absolutely, there is. So we're going to delve straight into it because, as you said, there's so much to talk about. But Flag Hawks, that's where we're going to start. How impressive were they on Saturday afternoon? Dusty's 300th, yes, we'll touch on that as well. But Sam Mitchell, he just has this side playing such an exciting brand of footy, and they just look like they have gelled this year and things are starting to click for them.
I think Craig McRae aside, I think Sam Mitchell is probably the best young coach in the competition. He's only barely stopped playing a few years back. He did the apprenticeship. And at the start of the year when they were going really average and it was like, oh, geez, are the Hawks regressing here? There was probably only a slight amount of concern. I do a lot of work with Xavier Ellis, who used to be his teammate. And I said, are you worried? As a Hawks man, are you worried? He said, absolutely not. Not even a little bit. And that has been proven over the last few weeks. What I loved was all the Dusty stuff. All we heard about all week was Dusty and how this was a big occasion and 92,000 rocked up and it was Dusty's day. The Hawks didn't care about any of that. They just came out and they played their footy and they shut Richmond down and they won the game. They're a ruthless professional unit right now. The momentum they have, if it wasn't for their percentage, I could see them absolutely playing finals. Their percentage, they need to get that up. They need to flog some teams. Yeah. But otherwise, they are the formed team of the comp other than Sydney. It's them.
Yeah. And James Sicily, he's leading them beautifully as well. Another 33 touches for him. But I'm loving the combination of Marbia Chol in their forward half now. We understand that consistency, I guess, has been a bit of a qual on his game over the last few years. But between him, Cal Shadir looks so exciting as well, the way that he just attacks the footy in the air and is really quite mobile on the ground as well. But they've got so many options in their forward half, and Jack Ginnivan, still one of my favourite players in the game, just the energy and the excitement that he brings. I'm just really enjoying watching them play.
Yeah, you can hate Jack Ginnivan all you like, but the kid has an impact.
I love him.
You cannot argue about he's in that typical Hayden Ballantyne, Stephen Milne, those little small forwards that you kind of hate, but you love watching because something's going to happen. And don't forget too, Mitch Lewis hasn't played in a long time, so he's almost due back. So adding him alongside Chol and Deere and Ginnivan and little Watson showed a little bit on the weekend. Yeah, straighten up his kicking a little bit, but he's active. So there's a lot there to like. It's exciting.
How funny, I'm not sure if you saw this, but CJ, it was his game number 50 on the weekend. I mean, everything was about Dustin Martin, right? And I'm not sure if it was just on the Hawks social media, but there was a clip of him and he put his arms around his teammates expecting them to lift him off the ground, carry him off the ground in game 50. It was a complete joke, but it was absolutely hilarious. I love
Very
CJ
good.
once again.
Very good.
But Dustin Martin, how did you see that all play out?
Yeah, look, I mean, I knew he wasn't going to talk. I wrote something for the West last week saying, I don't really need to hear from Dusty. The guy he's never really been a speaker. He plays his game with a very, very loud voice. He doesn't really need to talk too much. Yeah. I thought Jack Revolt did really well on the interview. I know you would have been watching that as someone who does that and going, how's he going to handle this? I thought it was really good. I think it was fantastic to chair off a player who's probably been, if not the best of the last 20 years, right in that conversation. So I thought it was a magic day. Shame that they couldn't have sort of kept the margin a little closer and given us a little bit more of a contest. But it's always beautiful to salute one of the greats. 92,000
at the MCG and the emotion of it post-game, Dusty acknowledging the 92,000 that are there, acknowledging the support that he's had during the week, basically telling everybody, I'm hearing you. I'm reading your messages on social media. I'm listening to the radio. I can get your messages of support. But him going around, obviously applauding the crowd and people that were there, I found that really emotional and really special.
There's a gratefulness from both sides of the of the fence there. The fans, they know what they've seen for the last decade plus with him. They know how lucky they are. There's an association of greatness.
Yeah.
And then he knows too. He knows that the love from the Tiger Army is something that is very, very special. Like he'll have that for the rest of his life, but right now it's the moment to celebrate it.
Yeah.
So it was beautiful.
Congratulations, Dustin Martin. 300 games, 3 flags, 3 Norm Smiths. It's not bad,
Not
is
bad.
it? Hey, but
Not
just
bad.
quickly, but before we move on from the Hawks, so they're sitting a game out of the 8, right?
Yep.
They have got the bye, round 15. They've got West Coast over in Perth. They've got the Cats in Geelong. They've got the Dockers in Tassie and Collingwood at the MCG. And it was only round 4 where we got a taste of what the Hawks were capable of against Collingwood. Of course, they came back and won that game by 5 points in devastating fashion. But you just get the sense that if the Hawks can really make the most of this kind of 5-week period, that they are genuinely a top 8 contender.
There was nothing in there. I mean, Geelong is hard, but there was nothing really in that run that you said that I thought they can't win it.
Yep.
I mean, Collingwood, they beat Collingwood last year. They were one of the few teams to actually take it up to them. And as you said earlier this year, they were really good. And they're playing with a heap of confidence. I always find and it was similar, we'll get to Freo later, but when you have those great wins, you don't want the bye, I reckon. Like, you just like the momentum. I reckon they'd love to be playing this week, but you can't choose when it comes. I can't see any of those games being overwhelming to them. I think Hawthorn have all the momentum. They're going to give teams a lot of trouble. As I said before, they need to get some big wins because they need to boost that percentage, which is way below the others in that space.
All right, well, let's move on to what happened yesterday. Collingwood again by a point.
God.
They came back from 54 points down in that third quarter. North Melbourne found 14 goals in a first half of footy to Collingwood 6. It was a super impressive start by them. George Wardlaw absolutely lit it up, which is so exciting for North Melbourne fans around the country. Yeah. My heart broke a little bit. I mean, everybody knows what Collingwood are capable of, but I think for Alistair Clarkson, for this side, what they did across 2.5, 3 quarters was magnificent. But they just couldn't do it for 4 quarters, and it was devastating to see them lose that one when they were in control for a large part of the afternoon.
It was a bizarre game. Like some of these games, you feel like there's 5 games within one, and that was definitely one of those. I mean, we're all just in shock. Wow, how good is this? Maybe this is the start of something for North Melbourne. Coming off a win. No Simpkin. That doesn't seem to matter. They're tagging. Everything's going well. Larky's on fire. But it's Collingwood. And like I remember, I was sitting there at halftime thinking, if it were anyone else, I'd probably say this game's over. But Collingwood just have that knack. Like they're never out of it. Yeah. And that's what makes them great. And then they go and do that. And I think it was after, I think they got to about 24, 25 down. And I was working at 7 yesterday. I said to Anna Hay, I said, Collingwood's going to win this.
Yeah.
Like you could just see
know, don't you?
The rolling momentum. And then all the calls start going your way. And of course there was a few. The 50-metre penalty. Was it there? Was it the wrong call? Should it have been a shot for goal?
Absolutely, that was there. If that incident, that moment was at any other stage of the game, that is paid, in my opinion.
Yep.
But
what is it? Confusion? What is it? What's going on there?
Oh, is it nerves from the umpire? Is it that they don't want to be, I guess, front page news or back page news or have this call being a topical part of the media landscape? I don't know what it is, but if that is, as I said, at any other stage of the game, that is a 50-metre penalty every day of the week.
I reckon, and I don't know, I'm not inside the umpire's head, but I was trying to picture it from if it were me.
Yeah.
I reckon he's somewhere between the two calls. Like, I reckon he thought, oh, am I calling play on here?
Yeah.
Because it almost was. And then it was like, oh, am I calling 50 here? And then the answer is to do nothing, which I don't think that is the right answer. But I think he sort of swayed between the two calls and then decided, actually, I'll just go in the middle here. And look, if that kick had landed and there'd been a mark, and we wouldn't even be talking about it. Yeah. But because it didn't, there seems to have been so many incidents this year where late in games, umpires either get it wrong or don't call it. So it seems to be way more than usual. Maybe we're just talking about it, so we're amplifying it. I don't know. The game is really hard to umpire. It's only getting harder. Oof. Maybe we need to look at how we umpire these games. Do we need more, less, different positions, more help from the box? You know, like what can we do to make this better? Because it's such a hard game to umpire. I feel sorry for these guys.
Absolutely. I couldn't do it. It takes a special kind of person to be able to umpire these moments in those seconds.
Yep.
Credit to them, but unfortunately it
was wrong.
As you said, there have been a few that we're always talking about on a Monday morning. Collingwood are looking I guess we know the amount of injuries that they've had, right, throughout the
Yeah.
last kind of 5, 6, 7 week period, and they've still got such big names to come back in. De Goey's not far away. Pendle's with
Yep.
that bicep, hopefully not far away. So what they've been able to do in the absence of some of these players is quite remarkable. And Bobby Hill, I want to talk about him next. 5 goals from 10 disposals, 7 marks. Is that mark of the year? That is my question
Yeah,
to you. Has he
is.
got it over Jamie Elliott?
It's bloody close, but I'd say Bobby.
Yeah.
I love Bobby. You know, Bobby's problem is he landed on his feet. You know, he needed to just commit
was like
fully
a cat.
to it. It was too clean. That might be what sinks him in the end. But he is a special little player. WA guy too. We love him over here. I got a good Bobby Hill story actually. So we do these draft preview stories, and often in them. We get them to do a little trick shot at the end, right? So kick it into a bin from something. And sometimes it's really difficult, sometimes it's really easy. Because Bobby's so skillful, we took him up in the old Lathlane Perth grandstand, which is this old decrepit grandstand that should have been knocked down years ago. And the deal was he had to kick it from the top of the grandstand down onto the ground into this bin. Really difficult to do. We had like 20 footies because I thought, well, he'll do it within 20. He's that skillful. He hit the side of that bin, I reckon 85, 90 times, almost in a row, without getting it in. 4 hours we stood there, hauling the balls up the grandstand. But this kid, I kept saying to him, do you want to give it up? We'll just get you to do something easier. Nah, I'm not giving up. 4 hours, and then he gets it in. He finally got it in. And at that moment, I said to the camera, I said, this kid's going to make it because he's so resilient. Other kids would have just gone, can I just do something easier? Can I just kick it straight into a bin from the ground?
Well, the magic of television, you could have just done a close-up shot of the bin and thrown it in from a metre away.
Correct. We could have just done him a favour, but no, authenticity is key, Abs. But the fact that he hit the side of the bin like 90 times, like that shows how skillful he is too. Like it was just luck.
Yeah.
I love him. He's a talent. And Collingwood now, to me, I know Carlton fans will hate this. I'd still think Collingwood are the second team. If I had to pick two, it's Sydney and it's Collingwood for me. I just think once they get all these guys back, they're still winning in the same way, that exciting brand of footy. It's Sydney and Collingwood, and then it's a level below.
How good is it when top 4, Essendon, Collingwood, Carlton are in there? The 3 biggest clubs in the land. That's crazy good.
It is good. It's great for Victorian footy. I think the rest of us are sitting back going, hey, enough of this. But it is cool. I actually did think that yesterday when I looked at the ladder. I thought, that is those traditional clubs when they're strong. It is good for footy because they have huge numbers of support. I was asking someone this yesterday, Abs. What do you reckon the best grand final would be for the AFL, for Seven, for all the broadcasters? What's going to be the biggest possible show? And I think I know the answer, and I think we're heading for it. Is it Sydney and Collingwood? Because you get the New South Wales market.
Yeah.
You get the Victorian market. You're going to get you're going to get SA and WA anyway. We're going to watch the grand final.
Yeah.
I just reckon if you've got the biggest club in New South Wales and you've got the biggest club in Victoria,
I'd
we're
agree.
talking epic numbers, record-breaking numbers.
Oh.
We could be heading there.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness. Isn't that even just a treat to think about?
It is.
Let's delve into the Swans a little bit closer.
Okay.
They took on Adelaide in Adelaide over the weekend on Saturday night. They're a class above. And I watched them close up on the boundary a few weeks back, and I was sitting there just thinking, I'm not sure there is another side in the competition that can run with them at the moment. Across 4 quarters of football. I mean, Amartey, where the hell did that come from? 9 goals from 10 kicks. Any chance of the Adelaide defenders manning up on him?
Did you see his heat map? His heat map was literally the 3 metres in front of the goal square.
Yes.
Was just, that's where he was all night. If you go and look at Joel Amartey's heat map, if you're listening to this, it is insane. 10 kicks, 9 goals. Look, he's been threatening to have a big game. He kicks, I think his high might have been 4 goals up to that career high, but he'd done it a few times. And the way that Swans midfield is, there's so much quality footy coming in there. What I liked about the performance from Sydney was, and we saw it against Geelong as well, teams are challenging them now. They're coming out and they're going really aggressive. And then Sydney have this coolness and calmness where it's like,
and
3 goals down, doesn't matter. 4 goals down, it doesn't matter. We're going to be in this game. And they know they've got enough quality to get there. So they're ticking all of the boxes now of a premiership side.
Yeah.
Ones that's like, can we, if we're down, can we come back? If we're up, can we put the foot on the throat? If they want to play this way, can we do it? If they tag Chad Warner, can we still win? Like, that's all the stuff that you've got to tick off in a season where you're trying to win a flag, and they're doing it.
Yeah, if you're Adelaide defenders, you've just got to shrug your shoulders. And
Awful.
when you're on, you're on. When you're on, you're on, right? And Joel Amartey was on Saturday night, the Amartey party. We absolutely love that. And the addition of Brodie Grundy, we've spoken about that at length over the entirety of the season, right? I love what he's doing for the Sydney Swans. He's effectively another midfielder when the ball hits the ground. His clearance numbers are wonderful. He's such a strong presence around the ground. And just knowing what he's been through over the past few seasons, of course, leaving Collingwood, going to Melbourne, things not working out there. I'm wrapped for him and I'm wrapped for Sydney that things are going so well.
Really great career resurgence. And if you're him too, like it's the perfect scenario, because imagine when that first came to him, that potential situation, and I'm assuming it's his manager, and he comes to him and he says, hey, we're going to get you out of Melbourne. You're going to go play in Sydney. Great. Love Sydney, different state. I can get out of this, Victorian hotbed of everyone's bagging me out. It didn't work with Max. Yeah. And then you look at the midfield and you go, oh, I got Errol. Oh, I got Chad. Oh, Isaac Heaney's going to play in the middle. Oh, where's Luke Parker and Callum Mills? Oh, they'll be back soon. Yeah. It's just for a ruckman. It's a dream. Like this is the best midfield in the comp. Absolutely. You're a really highly skilled, highly talented player. You're just going to fit in seamlessly. It's absolutely if you'd set up all the scenarios for him, this is the one he would have picked, and he's got it.
Yeah. No,
it's great.
Very, very impressive. And he is well and truly a Bondi man now. He absolutely loves it.
He looks like it too.
Oh, yes. He
fits
him. Hey, you want to touch on the Bont and the Western Bulldogs? 67-point winners against the Dockers.
Yeah. We'll get to Freo later.
Loved what they did. Yep.
Yeah, but the Bulldogs, the Bont to me, I love Nick Dacos. Chad Warner's been amazing. Isaac Heaney's been amazing. But the Bont to me is still the man. Like, he is still the best player in the comp, particularly when he decides, I'm doing this. He didn't train with the team all week last week. He was ill. He was training separately. Even to the last day of the game day, there was still a bit of doubt as to whether he would play. He comes out and he has the old Michael Jordan flu game and just completely dominates Fremantle. Anytime Fremantle were challenging, anytime it looked like they were going to get into the game, he would either kick a goal himself or set one up or win a tough clearance. He was a man amongst boys in that game. It was it was something to watch. That was really special. The Bulldogs and Rory Lobb was the other one too. Really wanted to give a shout out to Rory because he cops a lot.
He does.
Sometimes it's deserved, but on this occasion he stood up. He had fans from his own team booing him at times. He had Freo fans over there booing him at times, and he steps up and he kicks big goals in big moments, and just shows that when he's on. Rory Lobb is absolutely an AFL talent. And he's probably not going to be at the Bulldogs next year. Who knows where he's going to be. But he does fill a need for a lot of teams. Yeah. So good to see him get a little moment. Fremantle, awful. Really disappointing. They have that win. We talked about Hawthorn not wanting the bye now. I reckon Freo coming off 92-point win over Melbourne in Darwin. Great win. Probably their best in a couple of years. And then they have this time off. And then they come over and they just put up this performance, which was pathetic, really pathetic. I'm just about ready to go all in on Freo as a quasi contender, but after that I can't. I just can't. I need to see a little bit more. Not enough. It's not enough.
Yeah, no, the Dogs were scary yesterday. I mean, 10 different goal kickers. Riley West, they've got so many Rileys across their list, but Riley West, he popped up with 4. You mentioned Rory Lobb, Bont, both with 3. Waitman back in. He makes such a difference as well. Just a little beacon of energy for them in their forward half. 3. Hugo Hagan, 3. No Aaron Norton. So it is nice for the Western Bulldogs to be able to find different avenues to go. And
Sam Darcy.
And Sam Darcy to come back in, of course. They've just got a lot of threats in their forward half and are certainly a scary prospect moving forward.
Absolutely. There's something I've been wanting to ask you about, Abs.
Okay. Yeah.
I've been seeing little articles online. I've been reading things that I didn't want to click on, but there's a lot of conversation about Lachie Neale.
Yes.
And a post-game moment where he gives you a little kiss on the cheek.
Yes.
How do you feel? Because I haven't heard your thoughts on this because it's become a pretty big story. But how are you sitting with this moment?
The fact that this article came out a week after the fact, after that interview happened, shows how much of a non-news story this is. Yeah. And look, it's really frustrating for me. I mean, Lockie's a good friend of mine. So that's just something that you do is you greet your friends with it, whether it's a hug or a kiss on the cheek. And the fact that this has been blown up and is so I guess, out of proportion to the actual incident itself. It's really upsetting for me. Kate Halfpenny wrote the article, but does she know my relationship with Lachie? Does she know that he's a good friend of mine? Like, if she had have done her due diligence ahead of writing that article, I think she might feel a little bit differently and might not have actually written it in the first place. But it's just, I don't want to spend too much time on it because to me it is not a story. And this isn't the first time that a player who I've got a great relationship has given me a hug or given me a kiss. And the one thing that did really, I guess, upset me was the professionalism aspect of that article. And I've worked so hard over such a long period of time now to build relationships, to build trust, to build rapport with these players and coaches and make them feel like they're in a really safe space when they're with me. And that's what probably upset me the most.
That was questioned as to,
yes.
Is this too familiar? Is it too comfortable? It's like, no, I'm in charge of this space.
I'm in charge. Absolutely,
right?
I am.
Yeah.
And I don't. Sorry, I don't want my friends to then feel uncomfortable in how they're going to greet me or say goodbye to me. Like, that's not fair. And look, I just feel as though that article was taken out of proportion massively. Jules Neale even sent me a message this morning saying, Abs, I hope you're okay. Like, this is ridiculous. I'm like, mate, I know. Like, Lockie's a friend of mine. Yes, it's very, very unfortunate that this has
so
been...
we can shut this down. It is a non-issue. Abs is okay with it. And in fact, it's having the reverse effect. It's actually annoyed you to the point where you're like, it's making it sound like you had an issue with something you don't have an issue with. It's questioning your professionalism, all that stuff. No, not okay.
Yeah, not okay.
That's enough.
Yeah. So, and as I said, it was a week later, which shows how much of a non-issue that was in the first place.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
Well said.
That's how we finish this episode of Footy Talk, unfortunately.
Jeez, we got real for a moment there. Jeez.
We did get real, but you are a superstar, Ryan Daniels. Thank you so much for joining us.
No, it was great. As I said, love catching up with you on a Monday morning and can't wait for another weekend of footy. And then the bye rounds are done. We're back into the real stuff. We can launch in.
We're back into the real stuff. Cannot wait. You have been listening to Footy Talk. If you have a question for us, hit us up on Instagram at @footytalk_pod or on TikTok at footytalkpod. If you're listening on Spotify, hit the bell and to be notified, of course, when we drop new episodes. And tomorrow you will have Joey Montagna and Nick Rewalt with Stevie Baker. See you then.